Wednesday. It's been raining in Cali. I think we're all sick of it. I am in my car. I'm at work. So I hope everyone is good. We have a really cool, awesome, interesting guest today. Her name is Jessika Shelton. And she is someone I met at a women's retreat, women's baby shower sound bath. It was really cool, and she's very interesting. She works in alternative medicine. So for those of you who are interested in learning a little bit more about treatments in the way of cancer, she's someone who has some interesting information to offer. If you have a family member or someone you know, or you yourself was diagnosed with cancer, it's like you don't really do this work until you or someone you know has cancer. And there's some other treatments out there aside from chemo. So I found her to be really fascinating, and I'm going to just ask her all the questions. So if you guys have questions too, please join in and chat. But she's really fascinating, so I think you guys are going to apologize if there's a connection issue, but hopefully we can get her on and chat. Hi, Jessika, how are you?
Hi. I'm so good, Erin. How are you? Can you hear me?
I got you. Yeah, so thank you for jumping on, because you were really fascinating when I spoke with you very briefly about what it is that you do. You work in stem cell therapy, and we spoke briefly because of the situation I went through with my father and having to witness
Mm,
him dealing with chemo. And for people, I'm finding so many people now being diagnosed with cancer, um, and just people that once you get diagnosed, you don't really know your options until it comes up, and it's scary. And I had it happen with my dad. I was uh, witnessing that, and it was really it was super traumatic. And so I wanted to get you on because your life and what you do and how you advocate for patients, I found to be really fascinating. So first and foremost, what is it that you do? Because it's not even easy for me to explain.
and thank you so much, Erin. And I really appreciate your vulnerability. It's well received. And yeah. So what I do, hi guys. My name's Jess, and I work at a cancer hospital in Mexico. It's called Chipsa Hospital, and I'm what's considered a patient advocate. So I would be the first person that you would talk to before you come to the hospital, and I would go over really the logistics and cost, and really give you a good understanding of what we have to offer at really what I consider a healing center, right? Dis-ease in the body is something that is created through so many different things that we go through, and we live in this world that and when we're not our own advocates, that we can create this toxicity. And so I really thank you so much for bringing that up, and absolutely I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has about really the immunotherapies that we offer. So we do alternative care. It's natural. It's these are aggressive treatments, but they're non-toxic treatments. You're not getting the same side effects like you mentioned your father may have dealt with maybe in chemo, and different things that our loved ones, especially, just knowing that they have options, right? A lot of doctors in conventional and in Western medicine, I really love this side of it, because I think it is important. And we actually even do a very low dose of chemo called insulin potentiated chemo. So we're not against conventional medicine, but we have no ego. Our doctors have no ego in the process of understanding your cancer specifically and how we can best support you. So it's been a blessing of mine to talk to family members and to beautiful people such as yourself, and to be able to advocate and know that they have options, and know that there are different ways to tackle this, right? It's kind of like, with our health, it's not just going to the gym that's going to make us healthy, right? It's getting outside, it's being with family members, it's sharing words of affirmation, and spreading love and connection, and co-creating that for our healing. And I believe the same with cancer, that there's not just one treatment that you should be doing. I believe that there's a combination of different variety of options that you have to be able to, what really I believe, and my mentor has taught me, is to stack the deck in your favor, really to give you the best odds. And yeah, thank you so much, Erin.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned it earlier. You said dis-ease. You said
Mm,
dis-ease, which is, another way to describe what is happening to your body when you get a diagnosis like cancer, and that there are other methods for those that don't want to go chemo is detrimental to your body. It's really its purpose is to kill cells that are cancer, but essentially you're killing a lot of healthy cells at the same time. And I had a front row ticket to it by watching what happened to my dad.
mm,
And like I said earlier, for people that are tuning in, you don't really invest in understanding it until either you are diagnosed, your family member is diagnosed, a close friend, and it's so terrifying because, in my personal experience, I did not feel like I was armed with knowledge.
mm,
I don't have like a doctor in my family or, even a nurse that someone like you feel like I could talk to. I have a very close girlfriend who is a doctor, and she ended up being um, massively helpful in helping my dad. But, that's why I want to have these kinds of conversations, because what I witnessed with his treatment at 75, he was 75, he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and everybody was saying, this is very curable. It's a treatable disease, and all you do is utilize a certain type of chemotherapy. Well, what ended up happening was, first of all, he was very weak. It was in the middle of COVID, so there was very little family connection, which I also think you're right. Like community connection. You're just like thinking of this illness the whole time, and you're terrified and you're Googling, and I just remember how scared my dad was.
mm.
So, for people that may be afraid or going through it, having a resource like you to discuss this kind of thing with, I think is very helpful, and that there are other methods instead of having to do chemo. Can you talk a little bit about like what are other treatment options if people don't want to do the chemo route? And I love that you also offer both as options to kind of tag team together. So it's not like you're just completely, I don't even know if the right term is Eastern or holistic, but you also have, and
Mm.
you incorporate these Western medicines as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a blessing, right? To have knowledge. Knowledge is power. And knowing that, a lot of the times we listen to the white coat and that's what goes, right? And we're given this end date. And, I don't know what you believe in, Erin, but, my belief is that only higher power or source or, God, right, is going to be able to give us that end date. And so, that can really, going through that, and that experience is it can be like very traumatic, like you said, not only to the person going through it, but the family members involved. Like, where's the emotional support? So, as far as like what I'm concerned with, what we offer an emotional healing, along not only for the patient who's experienced this, but also for the family members involved. And the treatments, like I said, we have really no ego. You will get a customized plan, and we offer actually complimentary doctor consults, which I don't know any hospital that's doing that. And also, just waiting for the call for the doctor to get back to you can be also something that feels gut-wrenching, right? You're waiting on this, this call to decipher what your next options are. And so, yeah, typically in the United States, what we have offered for conventional medicine is what I've heard from talking to thousands of cancer patients is chemo, radiation, surgery, or even hormone therapy as an option. And it's only until you get clinical trials that they're offered immunotherapies. And so immunotherapies are therapies that help your immune system respond to the treatments. We want your body. By the way, I facilitate breath work. And as a facilitator and as a teacher, I love to always reflect back to my clients, you are your own healer. And so through these therapies that we're doing, we're allowing your immune system to heal itself through really creating a space. We have what's called Coley's toxins. This is an amazing therapy. William Coley created this, and we've had more success with this one treatment than we have in modern medicine today. Wow. And yes, and unfortunately, you know, through the FDA and what's being approved and what's allowed, the treatment, for instance, called Gerson. So, you know, Charlotte Gerson created the Gerson theory, which was detoxification through the micronutrients, through juicing, and through cleansing through the colon. And so a lot of my patients who maybe even at home right now, what you can start doing is you can start juicing, and you can do what's called, you know, again, I'm not giving any medical advice here, but this is something that we've seen through over the years. You know, these patients who have, if you look up again, the Gerson therapy, I highly encourage this book for anyone looking into, you know, cancer or looking into different types of healing modalities. And through our food is our medicine, right? You know, food is our medicine. And we live in this culture that doesn't quite advocate or treat what we're consuming, right? What we're creating, what we're allowing ourselves to consume is a big part of that as well. So being able to know that you can start making those changes at home even now. And Radical Remission is also another book I really encourage anyone to seek into and look at. But, you know, through, you know, Coley's toxins. So Coley's toxins is, again, I'm going to kind of go back here, but Coley's toxins is a dead bacteria that they inject into the body, and your immune system that you're naturally born with starts to stimulate on and fight back the dead bacteria. So your immune system starts to stimulate, and that's what we want. We want to use your own body's immune system to fight back the cancer and these circulating cells. Because here's the thing, you can get chemo and radiation and do surgery, but there's only so much that, like you were saying earlier, where this treatment is causing the good and the bad to be killed off, right? Now, this is something that really shocked me. A 5-year-old and a 50-year-old are getting the same exact dose. And why is that, right? And why is that? Why are we not regulating the customization of this plan that these patients are on? And it's because the high volume that these doctors are dealing with. You know, I don't blame our medical system. It's just there's too many patients, right? It's a money-making machine. and they are, you know, going through that process of, okay, well, this is the protocol of what I've been taught, right? And there are some naturopaths and other doctors, you know, who do recommend different things, but there is somewhat kind of an ego sometimes. This can be, you know, politicized based on beliefs, like what you're doing for your own medical decisions. By the way, anyone here who is struggling with making a decision for, you know, what you want to do for yourself, just know that doing it for you and choosing for you is number one. Because, you know, one of the number one regrets that I hear from patients is that I chose what my family wanted. I did conventional medicine because my family wanted me to, and it wasn't my decision. And so regardless if you decide conventional or if you go natural, I just pray and I hope that you do what's best for you. And that is a decision that, you know, is for you to make.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get a little emotional too, because I'm not uncomfortable sort of talking about my dad's situation. I think, like you said, knowledge is power, and having a firsthand account of what he experienced armed me with the power to be able to understand it a little bit better. And I remember, you know, he was diagnosed with the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and this was April. And I remember I was at a funeral actually when I got the call from a doctor who we knew was also at the hospital. So I'm sitting at this funeral and I get this call, and I didn't even share it with anyone. I just process it. But the doctor had said it's lymphoma, which is highly curable. Mm-hmm. And so by June, he had 6 doses of very high dose chemotherapy. And by June, he was in remission. So we were like, oh, great, you know, he's good. And he had 3 more sessions to go. But
by July, August, he wasn't doing great. Like he was sort of regressing for what,
Mm.
for what he was kind of going through, which of course you're 75, you're dealing with a high dose chemo. It's not very fun. But then what ended up happening, Jessika, was in this rare instance, the doctor said, his oncologist said, it spread to the brain. So either he had it all along
Metastasize, yeah.
and it metastasized. So that we knew meant not good news. In fact, actually, when we saw he was like in serious decline, we didn't know it was in the brain. We thought he was kind of dealing with dementia. I remembered the doctor in the ER called to give me the news and said, I need you, are you driving right now? And I was on a walk with my mom. So I knew when she said, are you driving right now, was not a good thing. Because I thought, oh, he's maybe he has an infection. So we put him in the hospital. But the point of my story is when it came down to deciding, the doctor said, well, he can get a different type of chemo, a more intense kind that can cross the blood-brain barrier because your brain actually protects itself. So chemo doesn't go to your brain. If you have some disease present in the brain, you have to do a different type of chemo and a more intense kind. You have to actually be in the hospital. And I remembered my dad feeling not great about doing chemo again. And we goaded him. We may have like talked him into it, and I get emotional about it because I think had we known maybe this was an option, we would have been just armed with a better sense of what we could do here, because shortly thereafter he passed away. He died of septic shock in the hospital because his immunity was so low. So I think just being able to have the understanding of what you're dealing with really makes you feel more comfortable making decisions. And then you don't make a decision for the person that ultimately should decide what they want. In the way of what you offer, like what is the success rate? Are you able to like discuss what the success rate may be with your types of treatment?
And yes, and I do want to also just chime in on your vulnerability and sharing. Thank you so much for, like advocating for everybody on here. That's amazing, Erin. And, sharing your story. I know that people are going to hear this and feel, moved by that. And, one thing I just want to maybe peace of mind as well share with you is that we're doing the best with what we know, babe. And sometimes what we're taught and what's in front of us is only the best with what we have at that moment. And so, you did the best with what you had. You have to know that, Yeah. And yeah, that's all we can do, until we know more, right? It's kind of like our own awakening sometimes. We're like, oh, I'm definitely not dating that guy again. Right? And, what I'll say about our success rate is that, anywhere you go, there's no guarantee. Let's be honest. This is a medical field you're dealing with, right? This is even when you go into the doctors and you get surgery, there's no guarantee you're going to get full mobility back. You're going to get, but, we have a video I can actually send you, Erin, or if anybody wants. We have 10-year, 20-year cancer survivors, and this is just from Gerson alone. And we have some very cutting-edge new therapies that we're adding as well that we have over the years. And one of my favorite patients who I stay connected with, his name's Ryan Lelf. You have to talk to him. He's a dad of 4, had a surprise baby on the way while he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he's an amazing father and an inspirational, motivational speaker. And went through a lot with his cancer diagnosis and had a lot to live for. And number one thing that I see as far as success rate goes actually has nothing to do with the treatments itself. You know what it has to do with? It has to do with the will to have a vision and the will to know deeply inside what you're here for, right? And for Ryan, it was, I want to be at my daughter's wedding, and his daughter's like 4 years old, and just having that purpose, is, and that mindset that I'm living for a reason. And that is one of the highest success rates we've seen. And I go down to the hospital and I teach personal development. So I teach what's called power of the mind. And we talk about this, right? Belief is one of the number one things that I have seen most of our patients that have the most success are the ones that have the highest will to live and the highest vision. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do my protocols. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this coffee enema. I'm going to get up and I'm going to drink this 10 juices until I turn orange, because my commitment to being here and showing up for myself is higher than what all these other circumstances are telling me, or me self-pitying or being in victim. Poor me, right? There's a shift that you make in this spiritual and really awakening through this, what some people would consider a death sentence.
Yeah. And I hear that. And I agree. You know, it's interesting. I occasionally do vitamin C when I'm not feeling great. When I had COVID a long time ago, I did the vitamin C IV, and the woman that administered it said, this used to be the way people treated cancer, because you would boost your
Immune system,
your immune system. And it's just so interesting because, right, it's not even a thing. People don't even look into stuff like that. And I think at the core, what I'm hearing you say is boost your damn immune system and find ways to, you know, physically do it, but also mentally do it. Because like you said, right, like dis-ease, stress in the body creates inflammation. What we went through with COVID and everybody afraid of everybody and afraid of everything, that caused stress. And so what does that do? That makes us all have inflammation. And if we can just slow down, which I struggle with, I'm like always on the move. I don't like to be still. I'm really working on that myself. But figuring out, like you said, what someone's higher purpose is, or what brings them joy, what brings them meaning. If we're always on this rat race to just get from here to there, we really don't take time to just sort of slow down and just be here. And I think you even post in your bio, if you can feel it, you can heal it. And I really am so on this holistic train, because I saw and blessed the doctors that do the very best that they can. But every time my dad went into a hospital, he came out so much sicker. He didn't get better. He got worse. And, you know, I think learning, advocating, understanding this, it just allows for you to live a higher quality way of life. Now, let's say I were to come down to your treatment center, or I were to bring a family member. Is this covered by insurance? People, I'm sure, are always wondering the cost of something like this. Chemo,
absolutely,
we know, is expensive, but insurance kind of covers it. This is also way above my pay grade, but can you shed some light on the cost of something like this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, what I will say as far as cost goes, it varies. So we give customized treatment plans to each patient, and we offer, again, the complimentary doctor consult, because, you know, we want to see if this is a fit for you. You know, if let's say that, you know, you've done the conventional route and you're blasted with chemo and radiation, and you're not well, and you're not walking, and you're not moving well, and you're not even able to swallow or eat, you might not be qualified actually to do something like this. And this is where we go backwards with conventional. We try the radiation chemo surgery first before we do the more natural route. So, you know, I really believe that there is a reverse that gets to happen in our protocols. And you are correct on, you know, with our hospital itself, as far as the cost goes, it is out of pocket. And, you know, something that, you know, I believe is that if there's a will, there's a way. You know, I get on the call with people. They do fundraisers. I've seen a woman get on the news, and she lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is like a town of like less than 2,000 people. And she was able to get on the news and raise the funds to come. And here, you know, again, like being in possibility, knowing that you have options, and that we're not going to let anything else, like if money's going to stop you in life, right? This is an obstacle we all go through, right? Different parts of our life. And money is one that comes up. And here's the thing, in the medical field, it's a business. right? It's one of the biggest businesses in the world. And if people were all getting well, how much money would these hospitals be making? And so, it's unfortunate that most insurance companies in the United States are not going to cover holistic treatment. It's kind of like when you get in a car accident, right? They're not going to cover massage, chiropractic, acupuncture. They're going to cover pain medications or physical therapy, right?
Right.
And so, this is something typically that wouldn't be covered under that. However, there are people who don't let that stop them. And so, I'm happy to anyone who wants a consult to get a customized plan for them specifically, because we're not going to give you a financial when we don't even know what's happening, right? A lot of hospitals you'll go into and you're like, why am I getting this scan? Why am I getting these treatments, right? And you're not being taught or told what's even happening. What is trauma, right? Going through something without being really communicated with. And so there's a lot of trauma happening in the medical field. I would say that I've witnessed. I used to work at a senior home as a caregiver. And, my big passion with people is just that we should know, like you said, our options and, what's even happening, right? And why is this not being communicated? And why am I being billed hundreds of thousands of dollars that sure may be covered under, your regular insurance companies. But, is it really helping, right? Or is it causing more pain, right? And just knowing that, McDonald's isn't going to tell you to go have a salad typically, right? You're gonna if you're talking to the horse's mouth and the horse is feeding you the consuming that you're doing, right? So just know that there are other ways and tools, and there's an education curve for a lot of things, money, relationships, my goodness, and cancer. Cancer's a business, at the end of the day. And, the things that our family members, our loved ones go through in this is, it is traumatic. And I think that knowing that whatever is to come in your life, that if you're in possibility and belief, that you can create a space where you're not going to let anything stop you, and you're going to know your options because you're going to educate yourself, right? I'm not going to be feeding my child, McDonald's here every day. But, if I listen to, right, certain, fast food and marketing and ads that I'm seeing on my phone, that might be what I go after because, number one, I'll think it's cheaper in the short term. But really, right, what I'm creating long term is more health issues, right? And yeah, so there's give and take in all of that, and I hope I answered that question.
You did, and ultimately, at the end of the day, and I know I've exceeded my time with you, but at the end of the day, health is wealth, and to invest in preventative methods rather than fixing the problem when it's a little late, I think is always an empowering way to live life. Now, have fun. Like, I had a donut. I'm okay, but I think just trying to find ways to make good, better decisions, and also be kind to yourself when you don't, I mean, that's one of the things I think we all struggle with, which is I'm not living up to the standard of care I should. And, witnessing my dad go through what he went through, I realized through that loss to be way more compassionate to other people. Other people are needing compassion and compassion for yourself. It starts with you. So thank you for all that you do. I mean, I felt like when I got to meet you at Priscilla's baby shower, it was like the stars were aligned.
It was an instinct.
Yeah,
it was an instant connection.
Right away, I just was like, the story needs to be told. And for people that have stayed and have tuned in, thank you, because cancer is so scary, especially when it's either you or a very close family member. And I think being armed with knowledge, being armed with information, like Jessika was talking about, it helps alleviate a lot of the fear that we have, because I'm seeing cancer in young people happening now more than I've ever seen before. So
we're having an epidemic in the world. You know, just like many are in our children with obesity, we're having it with cancer. It's happening more and more and more. And I really love you, Erin. I think you're amazing, and I'm just so grateful to for you to be so vulnerable and share your story and to be having this conversation. So, you know, thank you, and I love all of you guys, and you know, like it's been really just something that's opened my eyes up too, you know, to how I'm showing up and what I'm consuming and what I'm allowing, and I really think it's powerful. Like you said, your health is your wealth, and that preventative, you know, can be something that, you know, maybe getting a gym membership, maybe going just for a morning walk, maybe just talking to a girlfriend, or like opening yourself up to you know, getting outside more often, getting your face in the sun, and you know, small little things. Having more water can be something that, you know, you never know what kind of autoimmune or hereditary diseases that are in our bodies, right? And beyond cancer that are dormant until, you know, and we're just kind of living our lives not quite understanding or knowing or educating ourselves, and being preventative. Because, you know, working again at that senior home, I did see a lot of